Welcome to episode 17 of Wyandot Lake, our Planet Coaster 2 water park. Today is a special episode as it marks the very final episode of our second themed area, the Boardwalk. That's right, we are going to be finishing up this section of the park before moving on to our third themed area. And I'm going to go ahead and start talking a little bit about that area, but that's going to be later in the episode. Make sure to stick around to hear that. And then at the very end of the episode, we're going to spend a few minutes walking around the boardwalk section of our park, take a little tour to end off the episode. So let's go ahead and get into it. Starting with some foliage look, we're back at the exit pool for Sand Dune Racers. And most of this episode is going to be foliage like this. And we tried to go with two distinct levels of foliage within the levels of foliage, I should say. And that's a very bad definition, putting levels in there, but it's the best I got. So there's going to be the within the park foliage, or I guess within the themed area, within the boardwalk foliage, and the surrounding boardwalk foliage. And there's two different differences, right? So right now we're working on the inside the area foliage. This is foliage within the area. It's directly within your sight line within the boardwalk. It's going to be a lot of palm trees, very tropical. You're going to have your kind of low to the ground stuff like you're seeing right here, your tall stuff and your palm trees, as well as your medium height stuff that you're seeing right here. Three different distinct levels that are going to kind of create a little bit of a curtain there for you. It's going to be very beach themed. It's going to kind of feel open with the way everything is placed. And then on the other side of that, we are going to have our surrounding area foliage. And this is going to be the area on the east side next to the wave pool. Outside kind of that fence area, that planar area that we finished yesterday. And this area right here between the main path and attractions. And we've talked before about we want these lands to be distinct. We want them to be themed. We want them to be immersive. So we don't want you to be able to see them from outside the main path, right? Outside of what we want to control. And so this foliage, and you can see where we are drawing a hard border here. We've got our sand, our dirt, and then the bushes kind of drawing that hard border. This stuff within the dirt is going to be very, very heavy. A lot of trees that are going to be eye level and up. A lot of bushes. Fences are going to be hidden. And it's going to make it so you can't see into the themed area. It's much less of a tropical vibe. And in fact, it'll match what you're seeing kind of along one side right now of this path, but eventually both sides of this path throughout the entire park. And that is what we're looking at. And we want it to kind of be more of the same. I will also add this area here is on the short list for expansion. I played around off camera a little bit, and I took some of the basic slides that we have in the game that they've already kind of built in, and I placed a couple of them in here, and it turns out you can actually fit a nice little slide in here. And so that is a place where eventually we could possibly add a slide. I don't know what kind of slide it would be or anything with that, but it is certainly a location that we could. Something maybe is kind of something with kind of those like half pipe elements. I think that's one of the ones I was looking at. It fits really well. But that's something we could look at. But back to the foliage and what we're working on right now. So you can see us kind of continuing to put in that varying depth, right? And we kind of followed the rules of design with depth, where the closest stuff to the path is going to be low to the ground, and then it's going to work higher up as you go back, and it's going to gradually get bigger. It's going to give that kind of look to it, which looks super great. Back over by the entrance building, this is kind of that changing building. We've got our high window. We're going to put some shrubbery here and then a nice little garden in here. The reason we did it this way is there's not a lot of room to really put foliage here. And so by doing it this way, it really opens up the area to kind of hide that. It's an area where I think it's the blue wall at Disney. If you know what I'm talking about, let me know below. But it was like a blue wall at Disney that everyone took photos. It was like super photogenic, and now they graphic it. And I've not even seen anything about it in forever. So I kind of wonder if it got ruined by kind of making it not natural. But that's a spot that like could be a really cool photo spot. We could put some graphics or something of some sort up there. And then we're going to hide the lifeguard stand, right? Put a bunch of stuff in here. The scaling, super fantastic. Really happy with how it came out. Something I'm thinking about doing, and let me know your thoughts on this below, but I'm thinking about with the adding of the invisible pass, maybe taking the lifeguard stand and actually putting some invisible pass up there so that we can have a lifeguard station up there that they can then kind of hang out on, even though it wouldn't necessarily be quote unquote functional. And then they can kind of come down from there. I don't know if there's limits on the steepness of those paths or not, but something I'm kind of thinking about exploring. But you can see right there, you saw how we kind of tied everything together, and it really just looks great. We added in the lighting, and it really, the whole area is just pulled together. I mean, in my head, I have an idea, and this looks even better than that. So this is Coastline Twist, which we named in the last episode, right? We've got Atlantic, Pacific, and the Gulf, and this is the ride sign. It's kind of cheeky. It's not bad. It's not great. It ends up looking okay. But this entire area I actually feel like is lacking. And so if anybody kind of has some recommendations what to do here, let me know. It just kind of feels like a dead end, and I really want to avoid dead ends. I'm not really a fan of modern day parks where, you know, you start with a blank canvas that have kind of these dead end areas, right? And there's a difference between having a path and having a little offshoot off of it versus a dead end area. And when I started building kind of the boardwalk section in this kind of area, kind of jutting out into the water, I think I had this idea of, oh, it's going to be super busy. But looking at it now, I'm not so sure. Speaking of not so sure, this staircase. These railings, first of all, went in so much easier than it actually did with the rest. But I'm not a huge fan of this staircase. Let me know if you have any ideas for kind of what I can do here. I want to do some kind of ramp. The staircase is fine, but it kind of, I feel like, hides the bathrooms and the dryer that's kind of behind it too much. And not only that, the biggest problem with it is it's not ADA compliant. And with a modern park, it should be. And so I'm not sold. And so just let me know what you guys think. So that's something that we're definitely going to keep an eye on. How much use does that bathroom get? Does that dryer get? And if it turns out it's not getting enough use, rip it out, change it, fix it up. So moving up into the sky, I have no idea how tall this slide is. Let's say 200 feet. Move it 200 feet into the sky. There we go. What an incredibly tall water slide. Incredible, right? It's not 200 feet. I have no idea how tall it is. But we're going to go ahead and put a canopy on here. I hated this canopy at first. So let me know what your thoughts are. But when I built this canopy, I was like, this is awful. But since then, as I've kind of finished up this area and tied everything together and stood elsewhere in the park looking at it, it actually, I think, is perfect for this ride. And so what we did is we took that kind of long, I think it's the Greek mythology, and we expanded it out. We added in the little hooks, changed up the colors, which we'll do here in a second. And it actually just ends up fitting the area really, really well. I do wish there were more canopy shade structure options in the game, but is what it is. We'll make deal with what we have, but with the sunscreen and the sunburn in the game, would love to have some more options. Speaking of the game, well, not really, but our area, I am starting to get a little worried that the park is getting too big. And originally, I had been doing a full loop around kind of our center area, which will be the last thing we build. But I actually decided I'm going to cut it off here, and we're going to do the other things. But it just, when I look at it from afar, it feels really big. And so I'm starting to get worried about it. We'll see how it goes, but we'll see. So I will say I went back and played Planet Coaster 1 the last few days, and I was surprised at how hard it was to make a profit. And I worry that we could maybe open this park and just instantly be losing a ton of money. Now, I know the mechanics in this game are easier, is I think the nicest way to put it. But the park's not going to open probably for another update or so. And so that may change because I know Frontier was working on getting the stuff from Planet Coaster 1 transported over to Planet Coaster 2. But now that's done, I think they might start paying a little more attention to that stuff. So I'm a little worried that the park's going to be too big and it's going to struggle a little bit. We'll see. I don't plan on cutting any more plans other than enclosing the circle, which realistically was something that wasn't going to happen with the park's opening anyway. That was something that was going to be like a year 2, year 3, we're adding more themed areas. Not going to worry about that right now. Maybe we come back to it. So let's talk a little bit about our next themed area. And we're coming up here just a couple minutes for our live walkthrough. But before that, we're going to talk about the next themed area, which is going to be Tiki themed. I don't have a name yet. So drop below if you have any ideas for a name, because I have no idea what to name this area. But we're going to talk a little bit more about my design process for the area in the next episode. But what I will say now is it is going to feature 3 pool areas that will be distinctly unique to the rest of the park. One of them a little less so, but still very unique, completely kind of changing the design. I talked an episode or so ago about trying to kind of make the pool's attractions in and of themselves. And that's what this is going to be. These pool areas are very much like that. We have 1.5 slide complexes. I say 2, but one of them is very, very small and very basic, so it kind of is a half one. We're going to have some various retail and QSR locations. We also have a very kind of in-depth pathway system for our staff, but the way it's laid out and everything, I think is really well done, provides a ton of opportunity for expansion, and overall is just fantastic. But we're going to do a lot of terraforming to give it some height, and I want to start doing more of that as long as the design calls for it. And this next area is just the perfect place to do that at and really start that. So we're going to see all that tomorrow, and I'm super excited for all that. The last thing I'll say here before we go into the tour of the park here in about 30 seconds is I still don't know what I'm going to put in that area at the very top of the wave pool. So if you have suggestions on that, let me know. It's probably not going to open with the park, but it is a high priority area once we do open the park. The ideal goal is to, in off season of year 1 heading into year 2, we put something up there, we make that something we can add, but no later than year 3 I want to add something. But I don't want to waste any space. With that, let's talk about this park. Hello and welcome in. It's Future Me here. We are going to go ahead and take a tour of our second themed area, which is now complete. Of course, it is the Boardwalk. So as we go ahead and approach, we have these beautiful, it's not really beautiful, it's kind of very simple and bland, archway, kind of very traditional to kind of what you would see. And a lot of kind of maybe downtown street areas, kind of walking through a boardwalk. So we'll come on in. We've got the Wood Street our buildings here on the left, which we are going to go look at first. Of course, our bathhouse, which just looks so good. The only thing about this, I'm not entirely sure about. The foliage in front of it kind of blocks the waves there a little bit. But of course, we've got our planters with our tables. Our guard shack, which looks like it's got some text that's clipping through. So we might have to go back and redo that here. This is something that, with the new update that came out a little while ago now, actually, by the time this video comes out, with the invisible paths, we might actually come back in and, maybe we put an invisible path in to actually give it so guards and staff members can hang out up there. And then we have shells and trinkets. I don't know why. I really love the name here. I think it looks super great. Love the decorations. This is one where I probably will leave it. Will not put in the new update. Our hotel that is fake, of course. And inside of it, we have our staff building. Pier 25, kind of like a little storage area. If you get the big ships, right, that come through here. We've got our info, our restrooms, and then our little Boardwalk Bites, our little kind of concession area, with maybe kind of another hotel space up there. Maybe that's an event space, something like that. We'll see. Hopefully the game gives us an update at some point and we can do something up there. And then we've got our beautiful picnic shelter. Maybe one of the things in this build that really came out super well, in my opinion. Looks great. I had a vision for this space, and it really did just look exactly the way I wanted it to. And the foliage through here maybe needs a little bit more. Maybe we come back in and we add some stuff through here on the other side of the fence there. And then we do have the little wall here that kind of blocks everything, maybe keep people from going out there. And then we've got this area here. And I know we've talked about it before, but still may add some signage there. I've not obviously done that yet. But this is our wave pool. You can see the waves going there. Still waiting on that update where we can control the waves and maybe do some different things with heights and everything, which I think would be super awesome. So there's those. There's the lights. Not super thrilled about the lights. If you have any better ideas for the lights, let me know. Happy to take a look at those as we come over to kind of our little more adult pool. Would be super great if we could get in-game bars. I don't know how that would impact the rating, but that'd be something that'd be really cool. We could put it in the middle there, and then we've got sand dune racers. So this is obviously one of our slides here, and we've got a little queue line, which looks great with the foliage and everything. Super great. Happy with how that turned out. We'll come up here, and I did not test it, so let's go ahead and put it into testing mode. So let's do that. This is one ride where I'm really happy with the way it turned out. So let's go ahead and ride it. Here we go. Just looks super great with the foliage, I think, around you, and the way you kind of come down the slide. You come through approaching here, past the cabanas. Looks great. So here we are in the back of the area now. We've got our massive slide complex, which we're not going to ride quite yet. We'll wait till we open the park for that. We have Slushy Splash and Seaside Swirls. Little QSR location here. Of course, we've got our bathroom, our dryer, and our backstage area. This fence here, I actually am really happy with how it turned out. I think it looks really great. With the little building here, we'll come down this way. Any ideas for signage we can put there, let me know. Our little path going to the backstage area. It's something I really want to include is really just pathways to backstage areas and kind of developing the backstage areas a little bit. Really add the realism. Obviously, we put these on the wall. We've talked about that a little bit. Super happy. Love this boardwalk signage. And this area is it's super quaint, very quiet. I think you'll get some, loud screams as people kind of come down the slides here and they kind of enjoy it. But overall, it's going to be just kind of a really kind of nice, calm area, I think. We didn't end up putting any chairs or anything over here. I just don't think this is someplace people are really going to hang out. Maybe we add in some benches, maybe a bench wall. over here where we kind of hide the benches within like a planter or something, kind of give it the sitting wall kind of look. So maybe you're waiting for the kids to come down the water slide, and maybe we had that in here. I love this bathroom. I really do. The way the signage looks, I think is super nice. The building, I think, really fits into the area. Super happy with that. And of course, we have our other boardwalk sign here. And that's pretty much it for the boardwalk. We've got our third entrance over here. The foliage, I think, came out really well. We'll speed up a little bit here, but I think it came out really well, kind of really hiding everything, really pulling everything together. So super happy about that. I also do kind of love that this support just runs here. I don't know what it is. It just kind of feels like the perfect spot for it. So super happy about that. And then our coastline twist as well. We're not going to go up there right now just for the sake of time, but coming back to this area, I mentioned this I think in episode 14, but if you have any ideas as to kind of what we can do here, let me know. I feel like it's missing something, maybe on that kind of far end down there. We've put maybe another slide complex that comes down this way. Maybe it's the exit to a slide that starts over here. I don't really know. Maybe we put some restaurants in over here. I don't know. But if you have any ideas, let me know. But overall, here is the area. I do think it came out just super great. Super happy with it. Let me know your thoughts. And that's all I've got for today. So tomorrow, we will be starting our third themed area in the park. Super excited to get into that. It is probably one of my, I won't say probably one of my, because it's only the third area I've worked on. It's my favorite area that I've worked on so far. It's just coming out super great, so super excited to share that with you guys. And we will see you tomorrow.